A very good morning to all the students of class 8th. My name is Prerna and I'm your English teacher. And today from your English book Skyline, we are going to be reading chapter number 2. This chapter talks about a, you can say a necessity of life. And it is not food, it is not clothing, it is not shelter. You know what it is? It is education. How blessed we are that we are studying in such good schools. We have such amazing teachers, we have such amazing faculties. So, this chapter talks about a person who really had to struggle a lot to get into a school, to make his position in a school. Let us start reading this chapter to know about this person's story. And as I told you, this is chapter number 2, and the name of the chapter is My Struggle for an Education. So let us read the introduction to understand that the story is about which person. This lesson is written by Booker T. Washington. In this lesson, he has described about his struggle for an education. It teaches every reader that hard work and sincerity are the key points of success. Let us read the lesson to know how the writer got the admission in Hampton Institute. So, here we go. One day, while at work in the coal mine, I happened to overhear two miners talking about a great school for colored people somewhere in Virginia. Colored refers to people with dark skin tone. This was the first time I had ever heard anything about any kind of school or college that was more pretentious than the little colored school in our own town. The meaning of the word pretentious is claiming great merit or importance. So, how this person, what is the name of the person? His name is Booker T. Washington. This person used to work in a coal mine, and he heard that two of the miners in the coal mine, they were talking about this very amazing school in Virginia. And this person, Booker T. Washington, he was really impressed listening about the school. As they went on describing the school, it seemed to me that it must have been the greatest place on earth. Not even heaven presented more attractions for me at that time than did the Hampton Normal and Agricultural Institute in Virginia, about which these men were talking. I resolved at once to go to that school, although I had no idea where that was, or how many miles away, or how I was going to reach it. I was on fire constantly with one ambition, and that was to go to Hampton. This thought was with me day and night. So, how Booker T. Washington, he's talking about the fact that once I heard about what all is there in that school and how great that school is, how great that school is as an educational institution, I was really determined to go to that particular school, and I had the strong desire, the strong determination that I am surely going to take admission in this particular school. Though he says that I had no idea where exactly it was, how far it was, what would it look like, what would be the fees, whatever, he had no idea about it, but he just wanted to go to that particular school. In the fall of 1872, I determined to make an effort to get there. My mother was troubled with a grave fear that I was starting out on a wild goose chase. At any rate, I got only a half hearted consent from her that I might start. I had very little money with which to buy. I had very little money with which to buy clothes and pay my traveling expenses. My brother John helped me all that he could, but of course, that was not a great deal. So imagine, with even shortage of funds, Booker T. Washington was very much uh, he had that strong conviction that I am going to go to this particular school in Hampton. What is the meaning of a wild goose chase? That means a foolish activity. So Mr. Washington's mother thought that it was a foolish decision of her son to go to this particular school. I had The distance from Malden to Hampton is about 500 miles. By walking, begging rides both in wagons and in the cars in some way, after a number of days, I reached the city of Richmond, Virginia, about 82 miles from Hampton. When I reached there, tired, hungry, and dirty, it was late at night. I had never been in a large city, and this rather added to my misery. When I reached Richmond, I was completely out of money. I had not a single acquaintance in the place, and being unused to city ways, I did not know where to go. Acquaintance means someone that you know. So, in these two paragraphs, Booker T. Washington is talking about the problems he started facing now during his journey. I asked to several places for lodging, but they all wanted money, and that was what I did not have. Knowing nothing else better to do, I walked the streets. I must have walked the streets till after midnight. At last, I became so exhausted that I could walk no longer. I was tired, I was hungry, I was everything but discouraged. Just about the time when I reached extreme physical exhaustion, I came upon a portion of the street where the broad sidewalk was considerably elevated. Sidewalk is the footpath. It's the term used in US for the footpath. I waited for few minutes till I was sure that no passerby could see me, and then crept under the sidewalk and lay for the night on the ground with my satchel, that is the bag he was carrying, satchel of clothing for a pillow. Nearly all night I could hear the tramp of feet over my head. So imagine, Booker T. Washington was completely out of money, so he decided to sleep under the sidewalk. The next morning, I found myself somewhat refreshed, but I was extremely hungry. As soon as it became light enough for me to see my surroundings, I noticed that I was near a large ship. It seemed to be unloading cargo of pig iron. I went at once to the vessel and asked the captain to permit me help upload the vessel in order to get money for food. The captain, a white man who seemed to be kind hearted, consented. Consent means to agree, to give permission. I worked long enough to earn money for my breakfast, as it seemed to me, as I remember it now, to have been the best breakfast that I had ever eaten. Why? Because, when you really want something and then you get it, the joy of receiving that thing is, it cannot be put in words. It cannot be described in words. So imagine, Booker T. Washington was extremely hungry, and by helping, putting up those vessels, to unload those vessels, he earned some amount of money, and with that money he ate breakfast with, after eating which he obviously felt better, and he really had the joy in that breakfast. My work pleased the captain, that is, it made the captain happy so well that he told me I could continue working for a small amount per day. This I was very glad to do. I continued working on this vessel for a number of days after buying food with my small wages, and there was not much left to pay my way a Hampton. In order to economize in every possible way, I continued to sleep under the sidewalk. So, economize means in order to save every money that he could, he still kept on sleeping under the sidewalk, that is the pavement. When I had saved enough money with which to reach Hampton, I thanked the captain of the vessel for his kindness and started again. Without any unusual occurrence, I reached Hampton with a surplus of exactly 50 cents with which to begin my education. The first sight of the large 3-story brick school building seemed to have rewarded me for all that I had undergone in order to reach the place. The sight of it seemed to give me a new life. So, looking at the school, finally, Booker T. Washington, when he reached the doorstep of that school, he felt that enthusiasm inside him. He felt that, he felt so rejuvenated. He felt so fresh from inside. And this was not just physically, more it was more emotionally, mentally. As soon as possible after reaching the grounds of the Hampton Institute, I presented myself before the head teacher for assignment to a class. Having been so long without proper food, a bath, change of clothing, I did not, of course, make a favorable impression upon her. I could see at once that there were no doubts in her about the wisdom to admitting me as a student. For some time, she did not refuse to admit me, neither did she uh, decide in my favor. I continued to linger about her and to impress her in all the ways I could with my worthiness. So, after reaching the school, Booker T. Washington, he really wanted to create a good impression on the teacher. In the meantime, I saw her admitting other students, and that added greatly to my discomfort. I felt deep down in my heart that I could do as well as they if I could only get a chance to show what was in me. After some hours had passed, the head teacher said to me, "The adjoining recitation room needs sweeping. Take the broom and sweep it." It occurred to me at once that here was my chance. Never did I receive an order with more delight. Now imagine Booker T. Washington, he was asked to sweep a room. He even took up that task with a lot of pride, with a lot of happiness. And he said that I am going to prove my worth even by sweeping a room. I'm going to show that whatever work is given to me, I do that wholeheartedly. I swept the recitation room 3 times. Then I got a dusting cloth and I dusted it 4 times. All the woodwork around the walls, every bench, table, and desk, I went over 4 times with my dusting cloth. So, why Booker T. Washington was doing so? So that he could give or he could show the best results to the teacher. Besides, every piece of furniture had been moved and every closet and corner in the room had been thoroughly cleaned. I had the feeling that in large measure my future depended upon the impression I made upon the teacher in the cleaning of that room. When I was through, I reported the head teacher. She was a Yankee woman who knew just where to look for dirt. What is the meaning of the word Yankee? Yankee refers to the people who is from northern state of America. So he's described that it seemed that the head teacher, she could find faults very easily. So uh, uh, the uh, the writer of the story, Booker T. Washington, he said that I had to ensure that my impression goes really well. She went into the room and inspected the floor and closets. Then she took her handkerchief and rubbed it on the woodwork about the walls and over the tables and benches. Why was she doing so? Because she wanted to see if there was any dust left. When she was unable to find one bit of dirt on the floor or a particle of dust on any of the furniture, she quietly remarked, "I guess you will do to enter this institution." That is, the teacher is saying that I think you've really done well in the task that was given to you, and you've really worked hard to secure a place in this particular institution. I was one of the happiest souls on earth. The sweeping of that room was my college examination. I've passed several examinations since then, but I've always felt that this was the best one I ever passed. Enjoyed the story? And understand one thing. As I told you in the beginning of the story, that how blessed we are to get education so easily. Please make the most of it, and trust me, this is a necessity in your life. Make the most of it. Thank you so much.